Hello everyone, it's Elsie here from the customer care team at Keela. Today I'm very excited to talk to you about receipts and letters in Keela and how you can customize them. What are receipts and letters? Great question. It's what we're all here for. One of my favorite things about Keela is how it lets folks automate the creation and sending of receipts and letters straight from their account. So these include things like the donation receipts, membership renewal reminders, much more. So when I say receipts and letters, I'm referring to those automated kind of receipts or emails or letters that you can send out from Keela. In your organization settings, you have the ability to customize the receipts and letters for your account at an organization level. So think of this as the default receipts and letters that Keela will send out if you don't specify otherwise. And now there are two new extra layers of receipt customization that you can use on top of your regular organization receipt. So before you could just customize the organization-wide default receipt, but now you can also choose to customize receipts if the payment in question is for a specific campaign or a specific impact area. Let's see it in action. As a reminder, you can find all of your organization receipts in Organization Settings on the Receipts and Emails tab here. Here you can customize all of your default receipts and letters. So all of those receipts and these acknowledgement letters that are on the organization level. If a donation is made to your account that doesn't have a campaign label or an impact label with an extra customized receipt on it, then it will always default to these receipt letters here. If I preview my donation email, let's preview this one here, you'll see I've got this regular blue header that I have on my organization receipts and a really generic message. It's kind of a one-size-fits-all for all of my donation payments. But I want to make it a little bit more specific for when folks donate to more specific causes rather than just our general campaign. So let's see how we can do that. So I've jumped back to the dashboard and I want to take a look at how you can customize the receipts at the campaign level. So we'll click on campaigns over here and let's look at my Mother's Day campaign. I'll click on that and you can see here that a new tab has been added to campaigns called Receipt and Letters. So you'll recognize these settings from the previous screen that we were looking at. They look nearly exactly the same as those receipts and emails tab that we were looking at in our organization settings. So customizing them is very similar, but with one important difference. Before I customize my receipt settings, so before the edit icons can appear so that I can go ahead and customize them, I'll need to turn on these little toggles. So clicking on these toggles is what tells Keela that yes, you would like to customize these receipts and letters on a campaign level. Let's try it out. I've got my logo over here, but perhaps I want to change the header color. You know, maybe blue doesn't fit into what I'm going for Mother's Day. Maybe I want to change it to something a little bit more stereotypical. So I'll chuck in a pink hex code and I'll save that. So now that's going to come out. So any receipts that are sent out for payments that are made to this campaign, they're going to automatically receive a pink headed receipt instead of a blue one. Alrighty, on to the next customizable option, and that is the acknowledgement letters. So this is sort of the big bucks of customization. This is where the heavy lifting comes in for Keela. So if I like, I can customize the thank you email or letter that will accompany any receipts that are sent out for donations or revenue payments that are associated with this specific campaign. So it doesn't just stop at the header. I can customize what's written in those communications as well. So let's try it out for the donation up here. So here we've got a pretty generic thank you message, and I'd like to make it a little bit more specific to Mother's Day. So I'm going to copy and paste this message in here. Maybe I'll keep the smart code that I had. I should have gotten rid of that. Right, so just a more specific message for Mother's Day. So I know that everybody who gets a receipt the email that accompanies it or the letter that accompanies it is going to directly acknowledge that they contributed for Mother's Day, for our specific Mother's Day campaign. And then just once you do that, be sure to customize all of the emails if you want them all to have matching branding. So sometimes folks might change this for revenues and for donations. So for example, I've got thank you so much for your gift. But that might not be applicable for some of your revenue payments. It depends on how your organization keeps donations and revenues separate. So you might want to say thank you for your payment for revenues instead of gifts. It's up to you, but just make sure that you adjust all of them and not just the one. So what happens now? Well, if a donation or revenue payment is logged in your Keeler account and it's linked to this campaign, the contact will receive the special receipt instead of the default organization receipt. So I'm going to jump into the fundraising tab and just select transactions. And let's say I've received a check from Scooby-Doo. So I've already got a record here, but let's say Scooby's very keen and he's provided another check, this time for $200. And then on the associations tab, this is where you connect the payment to the campaign or the impact area and therefore get that specific receipt sent out. So because I'm logging this transaction in the campaign already, this is automatically populated. But if you're manually logging the donation on, say, Scooby-Doo's profile, you would just make sure that you selected that campaign from the drop-down list there. But since it's already done for me, I'll click Save. And then I'm going to create a receipt and just have it emailed out to Scooby-Doo. So what Keeler's doing right now is it's checking the campaign. It's saying, hey, this donation is connected to a campaign. I'll go to the campaign receipt and email details and see which of those toggles are switched on, whether the logo and header toggle is switched on and or the acknowledgement letter. And if they're both switched on, then I need to pull both of them from that campaign. Oh, so it's ready. Let's check it out. I'll download it so you can see it a little bit bigger. And here it is, beautiful. So you can see that pink header is up the top. All of the rest of the information on this receipt is pretty standard. We can't edit this just because it's all needed for compliance. But if I go to the interactions tab and check out the latest receipt, you can see that email there. It pulls the exact information from that campaign that I've just saved. So you can check that in there. You can also choose to customize receipts for payments that are made towards specific impact areas. So head to impact areas to check this out and click on the one you want to look at. I'm going to look at Emergency Rescue Program and I'll head to, again, the receipt and letters tab in here. So to start with, I've got the same blue, same old boring blue for all of my default receipts have. And I'm going to make sure that both of these options are toggled on. So in this case, imagine they weren't, and I turn them back on and see how the edit icons only appear once this is turned on. So let's edit this one. I might make the receipt headers for my impact area emergency rescue program red. All right, I'll pop that in there. And now I want to make my thank you messages a little bit more specific. So maybe I'll edit the thank you message for revenue. And I'll just copy and paste this in here. So thank you for your gift to the emergency program, and just a little bit more specific there. Save that. And of course I would go through and just make sure that I've updated everything, and sometimes I might make it a little bit more specific. So for my recurring donations, I might say thank you for your ongoing gift, or I might, go a little bit extra on my recurring messages to say thanks, because those are, the real heroes are the folks who give on an ongoing basis. So that's another example of how that can be used. So now if a contact's donation or revenue payment has this impact area, my emergency rescue program impact area associated with it, they'll receive this special emergency rescue program receipt instead of the default organization receipt with the blue at the top. Instead, they're going to get this nice bright red. I think that the biggest application for this kind of customization is probably going to be when you're using Keeler forms to accept payments. So when payments are made through Keeler forms, they're all processed automatically and receipts are sent out automatically. So I think that's going to be where you get the biggest bang for your buck. But let's take a look. We'll jump into forms. So when creating a donation or revenue form, you have the option of associating it with a campaign. So let's say I'm just creating just a general donation form to start with. And perhaps I want to associate it with a campaign that I've customized receipts for. Let's go Mother's Day campaign. We'll try that. Now, because this form is connected to this campaign, what it means is that any payment that is made through this form will always receive that customized receipt instead of the organization default receipt. So because I've switched on customization in this campaign, automatically any payment is going to be receiving that customized receipt. If I add a campaign here that doesn't have customization turned on, then Keeler will just send out the default organization receipt. Now, the same thing works for impact areas as well. So when you head to the setup tab here, you can add a bunch of impact areas to your campaign that folks can choose to donate to. So all those impact areas that you've created over here. So maybe I'll do that. I'll start off with my emergency rescue program. Let's say it's 50, 100, 200. And then maybe I'll add workshop supplies. This one's really small. And then one more just where it's needed most. Easy peasy. And if I jump to Designer, you'll see how that looks. So now when folks come to my donation form, they're able to choose which one of these options they would like to donate to. And this is a really great way of connecting donors to the specific cause areas of your organization and making them feel more personally involved. But of course, on top of that, you can customize every receipt for each of these impact areas so that folks will get a different receipt depending on which impact area they chose. Ooh, great questions. So can I customize only the logo and header or only the acknowledgement letters? Very fantastic question. So when we were customizing the receipts in the videos I've just shown, we saw that there are two toggles, one for the logo and header, and the other is for the actual acknowledgement letters. So yes, you can. You can pick and choose if you'd like to customize both or just one of these options. If the logo header option is toggled on, Keeler will pull whatever is listed here for a donation made to this impact area or campaign. If the acknowledgement letters toggle is turned off, Keeler will keep the logo and header, but will pull the acknowledgement letter from the default organization receipt. And the same happens if you switch the toggles up. So there's lots of layers to choose from. You can customize only the acknowledgement letters for a campaign, but keep the logo and header of the organization default just by switching those. So if they're toggled on, Keeler will use them, and if they're toggled off, we'll go straight to the organization receipt. This leads me to another really great question, probably one of the most important things to note about how these customizable receipts work, is that there's a specific hierarchy to sort of the order in which Keeler will check receipt settings and which one that the system will use. So the first thing that Keeler will check when a payment is made and a receipt is being issued is if there's a campaign connected to it. So that's number one. And if that payment does have a campaign connected to it, then Keeler will use whatever receipt settings are present on that campaign. And so if you go to look at the campaign and you look at the receipts and emails tab, whatever is there, that's what Keeler will use. If no customization options are toggled on, then that means you want to use the organization default receipt for that campaign. So if there's nothing toggled on, then that means that the default organization receipt will be used for this payment. If there are customized, if the customized toggles are turned on for that campaign, then Keeler will use whatever customization has been entered there. But no matter what, Whatever options you have for the campaign will be used if the payment has a campaign connected to it. That's the first level of the hierarchy. If there's no campaign connected to the payment and the campaign label is completely blank, then Keeler will check if there is an impact area connected to the payment. If there is an impact area connected to that payment, Keeler will use, again, whatever receipt settings are present on that impact area. So if there's customized options and the customized toggle has been turned on, then Keeler will pull out those impact area customizations and put that on the receipt. But if all the toggles are turned off, or one of the toggles is turned off and one is turned on, Keeler will use whatever customization is present. And if the toggle is turned off, then Keeler will default to the organization receipt. If there is no campaign and no impact area connected to the payment, then Keeler won't check. It'll just default directly to the settings, receipt settings and customization that you have just on your default organization level. So one thing to note here is that if you have a campaign connected to a payment and an impact area connected to a payment, campaign is higher on the hierarchy. So whatever settings you have for the campaign, whether it's customization or no customization, that's the receipt that Keeler will go with. Keeler won't check the impact area if a campaign is connected to it because campaign is number one. All right, I've got a couple of tips to share about using this tool. The first one is to make sure that you communicate any changes or customizations that you make to the receipts just to the rest of your team. So if you do decide to turn on campaign or impact area customization, make sure that everybody knows. This way, if they add a campaign to their form or if anybody manually logs a donation in the future and they connect it to your impact area that you've customized, they won't get a surprise if the receipt that gets sent out is suddenly changed because you've chosen to customize it. Just make sure everyone's aware of all the different customization levels that you've got going on. My next tip is a real easy one. If you're ever not sure if a receipt that you're going to be sending out is customized, or if you're not sure if you should be adding a campaign or an impact area to your form because you don't know what the receipt's going to look like, it's really easy to double check. Just follow the steps I did earlier in this video. Just head to the campaign section and go to the receipts and letters tab, and you'll be able to see if any toggles are set up. And the same thing for impact areas. Just jump to the specific impact area or campaign you want to investigate. Head to the receipt and letters tab, and you'll know straight away. Best way to figure it out. Takes a couple of seconds, but sometimes it can be better to be reassured than to be unsure in this case. But as long as everybody's communicating and following the previous step, you shouldn't need this, but it's just in case. All right, last tip from me is be creative. So one of the main benefits of this feature, this new customization, is that it allows you to send specific thank you messages or specific communications to folks who donate to a specific cause area. So this means you can take your thank you messages even further. So I think about the extra bits and pieces you'd like to include in those thank you messages or those sort of acknowledgement letters. So for example, you can embed links to a specific web page or special codes that you might have that people might be able to apply at a checkout if there's any kind of discounts or things like that that you might run at your organization. So just think about all the ways that you can really leverage that customization. And of course, the cardinal rule is that it's always a good idea to test this out. So log a couple of fake donations with a couple of fake campaigns and impact areas. You can always delete it afterwards once you've sort of got an idea of how the kind of combinations work. But happy receipting, everyone. Enjoy.